What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fighting with Numbers. This is episode 53 of the podcast. What a nice little run we got going here. Last week, the model went 2-0, another clean night, a totally unexpected result again as a tier 1 and a tier 5 favorite get through. But Quillen Saul Killen, man, got the job done for us as our sole bet from the podcast. Back clean weeks for the Model 442. Not a bad little run. It will end, though. It will eventually stop doing that. We've had these tiny little thin data cards, and eventually the model's just going to do what it does, and it's going to find losers on purpose. But I'm not mad at the run. The overall record now sits at 95, 50, and 6 on the year. That puts us right back at 65%. I talked about that number. That's kind of the sweet spot for the model. So where do we go from here? We keep finding spots where we keep trusting the numbers and we let the card do the talking. And this week, the UFC finally put a little meat on the bone. No pack rips today because we got a full episode here. We've got UFC 330 this weekend, double title fights. Islam Makhachev defends his newly crowned welterweight title and looking to make history as well along the way. I'll explain that later, but he's defending against Ian Machado Gary. And then Mackenzie Dern defends her strawweight belt for the first time against Gillian Robertson. Not bad title fights here. What can we find out of it? We've got a couple fights modeled this week. I've got 10 fights actually modeled total this week, so check out the website. I've got 4 on the breakdown today here on the pod. We've got finally a full podcast episode, no ripping packs. I am Rob Moreno, as you all remember, a.k.a. Bobby Knuckles, a.k.a. The Robio. Finding me across all social medias at The Robio. Full model data and season dashboard is at fightingwithnumbers.com. Check it out. As I mentioned, there are plenty more fights to look at there, and man, the model is on one this week with what it's pointing out to us. Hey, you know what to do. Let's get into it.
Fight!
If I sound slightly different or you hear a sniffle come through, man, I've got some wild allergies attacking me today. So I apologize ahead of time. I am planning on editing any sniffle out, but it's possible one will get through. Who knows? This Vegas weather has been absolutely absurd, and I don't know. My allergies are kicking my ass. But speaking of kicking ass, let's get to our first fight. Down in the prelims, Neil Magny versus Ramiz Brahimaj. And that's where we're going to start. Let's give Neil Magny some respect, though, for a moment. The man made his official UFC debut back in 2013 at UFC 157. That was Ronda Rousey versus Liz Carmouche, by the way. So that was the women's debut to the UFC as well. That's how long Neil Magny's been doing this, man. 13 years just in the promotion. A 24-13 UFC record. A journeyman in the truest sense of the word. He has fought everyone, gone anywhere, and never stopped showing up for us. Now 39 years old, coming off a submission loss to Yaroslav Amosov in December. He's gone 4-5 since 2023. Not a great stretch, but the losses are coming against quality opponents. I will say that. What does he have left to prove? Maybe nothing, but apparently the body still wants to compete. So here we are, UFC 330 in the year 2026. Across from him, Ramiz Brahimaj, 33 years old, coming off a decision loss to Punahele Soriano back in February. Prior to that, he'd put together a nice little 3-fight win streak. He sits 3-2 since 2024. And he's looking to get back on track as the younger guy here. Now, physically, Neil Magny is the larger man. 6'3" to Brahimaj's 5'10", and an 8-inch reach advantage at 80 inches. That's a significant physical edge there. XR percentage, though, let's take a look there. As you can see it on the screen, Neil Magny, 57%. Nothing great. But Brahimaj is at 38%. That 38% is a red flag, and I'd question the quality of opponents Brahimaj has had success against. The strength of schedule here strongly favors the veteran. And actually, let me take a peek here. Brahimaj, who are his UFC victories? Austin Vanderford, you guys remember him? Billy Ray Goff, and then Mickey Gall. So that's his 3-fight win streak before his most recent decision loss. Look up those names. Just put them in your notes as to who Brahimaj has actually defeated. And then his previous loss to that was Themba Gorimbo. So, look up if those guys are still in the UFC and let me know what you think of his strength of schedule. But That is a red flag, 38% XR percentage. That's a huge red flag for me. Let's go to the striking. This is where Magny's efficiency shows. Sorry, the nose, a little stuffed. He lands 3.40 significant strikes per minute with a .96 differential, absorbing just 2.44 significant strikes per minute. It's nothing flashy, but it's clean, it's controlled, it's effective over a long career, right? And that's what's important here. Brahimaj lands just 2.29 significant strikes per minute with a negative .98 differential. That means he's absorbing 3.27 per minute. He is getting outworked in his exchanges. So if he's getting outworked in his exchanges, can he do anything else? Well, the ground game is honestly modest for both. Magny holds a 40% control rate of a clinch and ground time with 64 UFC takedowns. That volume has been built over a very long career. 40% takedown accuracy, though. Brahimaj holds a 32% control rate in clinch and ground time and only a 34% accuracy. Neither is a dominant grappler, but both do have submission wins on their resumes, though. Let's pay attention to that. That is always a sneaky thing, as they both have 8 submission attempts in their UFC career. But the model, it jumbles it all up, processes it all, lands somewhere I haven't been in a few weeks. It's a live dog action. Neil Magny gets the nod here. 89% win probability. That's a little too strong for me from the model. But as an underdog, tone it down a bit. That's still a strong number here for a live dog. He's currently plus 110, and I'm going to be totally transparent. I took him over the weekend when he was minus 105. I didn't get the best number. I thought the number would get worse. It did not. It got better. And hey, you can profit off that. Maybe, hopefully. It's a small underdog price on a fighter the model believes can win this fight. Live dogs, they've been quiet lately. They haven't popped up in the model. They haven't shown up. I haven't kept them away. They just haven't popped up in the model. And as you remember, they're on a cold streak, but they've kind of been put away for a while. And hey, maybe this is the week they start to come back. That's a tier 1 live dog. Neil Magny, I wish I got it at plus 110, but I've got him at minus 105, close to even money. He's on the slip. Fight number 2, baby. Vicente Luque versus Tresean Gore. I don't know why I find this fight fascinating. Vicente Luque, after spending most of his career in the welterweight division, has now made his debut in the middleweight division back in April, and he wasted no time making a statement. A first-round submission over Kelvin Gastelum as a 2-1 underdog, by the way. Now, I have my opinions on Kelvin Gastelum as far as a quality opponent goes, but a win is a win for Luque, especially in a new weight class. So the silent assassin is finding his footing in a new weight class, maybe looking to make some noise. Get it? Silent assassin making some noise. Anyways, across from him is Tresean Gore, Mr. Vicious, he is known as. This goes back to my point that I think fighters should earn their nicknames after they have a fighting career, or like have started a fighting career, because I'm not sure Mr. Vicious really stands out here. You'll see in the stats. Anyways, Gore is also coming off a submission win of his own, also back in April. He sits 3-4 in the UFC overall. So let's look at the tail of the tape. Physically, they have the exact same reach, 75 inches. It's identical. First tie of the night, I guess. XR percentages are not equal. Luque, 56%. Not exactly screaming from the rooftops for that one, but Tresean Gore, 34%. I will scream for the rooftops for that, because that is bad. A 3-4 UFC record and a 34% XR percentage tend to go together. That number tells you Gore is getting outworked in the rounds he competes in. Now, the striking, and this is where it gets striking. I don't know. That pun was intended, but pun was unsuccessful. Luque lands 4.80 significant strikes per minute with a negative 0.45 differential. The negative differential is a concern, of course. He's absorbing 5.24 significant strikes per minute. He gets into a couple firefights. That's always been a part of who he is, though, and it's just part of that resume. But then you look across the cage, and Tresean Gore lands only 3.41 significant strikes per minute. Here's the one I'm circling with my mouse. If you're looking on YouTube, by the way, find the show on YouTube. So search Fighting with Numbers, UFC. I'll pop up. Check it out. You can see these tail of the tapes there. But the number I'm circling here, a negative 3.59 differential. He is absorbing 7 significant strikes per minute. That's bad. 7. He is a punching bag that might occasionally hit you back. And Also, by the way, Luque has scored 11 knockdowns in his UFC career. Gore has scored 0. So while Luque has been knocked down before, Gore does not have power that shows up here in the numbers. The ground game is surprisingly thin from both. I was actually surprised. Neither's attempting many takedowns. We're talking under 1.3 takedowns attempted per 5 minutes for either man. Gore actually holds a strong 84% takedown defense, which is an interesting number for a fighter with his overall record, right? Luque holds 60% takedown defense. I mean, I'd hate to say that the ground doesn't decide this when Vicente Luque, 11 submission attempts. Actually, that could be what decides this, is Vicente Luque's finishing ability. We're talking about a guy with 8 knockouts and 7 submissions in the UFC. He knows how to find a way to end fights. So, which way does the model go? Show me what you got. Another tier 1 live dog. The model lands on the underdog again. Vicente Luque, 80% win probability will give it. Tier 1 live dog. Now, here's where I got the right price. I grabbed him at plus 125 over the weekend. He has dropped to plus 105 as of this recording. The money has found this one fast. If you're getting it now at plus 105, the edge is thinner, but the model still likes the side in general, right? That's what the model points to. It points to a side that it believes has a chance, gives me a win probability. We take that information, compare it to the odds, compare it to what that win probability is. A plus number is absolutely in play for Vicente Luque. The edge is just thinner, but the model likes it, right? Tier 1 live dogs have been cold. I understand that. But at plus 125, I truly think Vicente Luque is the much superior fighter than Tresean Gore. We're talking about a guy with a 6-4 professional MMA record. I hope I'm right about this one. And as I mentioned prior, we are talking about a lot of fights modeled this week. The last few weeks, I've had like 2 fights modeled last week. That was wild. And I had to make an exception for one of them. Yeah, I've got 10 fights modeled this week. That is a full slate from the model this week. It is busy. It is crunching the numbers as we speak. You can see on the screen, I am going through all of these. If you're curious about Jalen Turner, Cowie Fernandez, Chidian Jokwani, Edson Barboza makes our card here. We're talking about some nice fights to model here. But why don't we sit right here at the co-main event, a title fight. The model has been hungry for a title fight. We've got 2 underdogs in a row. Are we seeing a new champion this Saturday? Well, Mackenzie Dern fulfilled her championship dream last October, defeating Virna Jandiroba for the vacant strawweight belt. 3-fight win streak for her first title defense this Saturday. The story is right there for her. Mackenzie Dern, champion. But across from her is a woman who has her own story to tell. Gillian the Savage Robertson has turned her career around, really, if we think about it. We're talking about from 2019 to 2022, she was 4-4. It was kind of like, where is she going from here? She's gone 6-1 now since 2023, most recently a decision over Amanda Lemos to earn this title shot. She holds the women's UFC record for the most submission wins and is tied for the most finishes overall at 10. 10 total finishes for Gillian Robertson. That is a remarkable number, especially in the women's division. Well, physically, these women are nearly identical. 1-inch height advantage for Robertson, identical reach at 63 inches. XR percentage, not identical. Gillian Robertson, 61%. Mackenzie Dern at 55%. That is a low XR percentage for a sitting champion, if I'm being totally honest. One of the lower markers I've seen from a belt holder, at least in recent memory. Y'all can let me know if I'm wrong. And look at that number at the bottom. Fights finished inside the distance, 60% for Gillian Robertson. That's savage, may I say. Only 38 for Mackenzie Dern. Even though we praise Mackenzie Dern for her submission game, she doesn't have as many submissions as we would think, huh? Let's see, the striking. This is not where either woman wants to live, really. Dern lands 3.47 significant strikes per minute with a negative 0.47 differential, absorbing 3.93. Robertson brings even lower output at 2.71 significant strikes per minute with a negative 0.15 differential. 2 negative differentials. That's not positive. And Gillian's only spending 36% of her time at distance. I wonder why. She's not looking to outbox anyone, right? She wants to get in close and make the fight ugly. Worth noting, Mackenzie Dern has been knocked down 6 times in the UFC, and Robertson has actually never scored a knockdown, but she does have knockouts in her career. So there's a little bit of a durability edge here in the chin factor for Gillian Robertson. Now, the wrestling and grappling. I know most people aren't going to want to hear this, but this could be where the entire fight lives, and this could be where the championship fight gets decided. And it could be an absolute chess match, and it's actually a very interesting matchup for the champion for that reason. Dern holds a 60% control rate with 16 submission attempts. By the way, third-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She is always dangerous on the ground, always. But her 14 takedowns at only 18% accuracy tell you she's not always getting there on her terms. She's dangerous, but it's not on her terms either. Robertson, on the other hand, holds a 77% control rate in the clinch and ground, with 50% of that time in a dominant position. She has scored 38 takedowns, only 41% accuracy, but she's attempting 6.30 takedowns per 5 minutes. She is relentless, aggressive. She holds those records for a reason on finishes. If this fight goes to the ground, and most likely it will, of course, it's always possible. I say this now, and it's always possible we get this really weird, awkward stand-up fight between two non-strikers, and y'all are mad at me because I said this was going to be a crazy chess match on the ground. Well, if it goes to the ground, as I think it will, the question is who controls it. Two elite grapplers, 12 submission attempts each, but Robertson's control metrics are significantly stronger, if I'm just being honest here, based on the numbers. So the model's going to make the call, man. I don't know if we get a new champion or not, but the model thinks we do. Gillian Robertson gets the nod here. 77% win probability. Tier 1 live dog. Again, that is 3 in a row, and that is really weird from the model. But one thing to point out, these fights are independent of each other when they're run through their model. It's not like the model ran one and was like, well, we got one dog, let me just give another. No, these are all independent of each other, and pretty crazy considering we've had no live dogs for weeks. And all of a sudden, at least here on the pod, I'm giving out 3 in a row. I don't need them all to hit. It'd be nice. But let's see which one's cash. But the model thinks we get a new champion in the strawweight division here. I grabbed Gillian Robertson over the weekend at plus 210, actually, before the numbers started moving. She's now plus 175, maybe plus 180 here in Vegas. The line has shifted. Money's starting to come in, but the model's probability hasn't changed, of course. 3 underdogs on the card so far, 3 tier 1 live dogs specifically. We definitely need one to come home on Saturday night. Personally, this is the one I feel the most strongly about. I love this play. Gillian Robertson, she is a dog for a reason. Not just an underdog, but a dog in the cage. What's that X-ray? What's the meme of the X-ray and she's got that dog in her? I don't know if that's still cool, but that's how I feel about Gillian Robertson. She is locked in at plus 210. And for our fourth fight here on the pod, main event time, Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Gary. The model thinks we get 1 new champ. Does it think we get 2? By the way, history is on the line here. Islam Makhachev is currently tied with Anderson Silva for the most consecutive UFC wins at 16. 16 straight victories inside the UFC octagon. This isn't just MMA. Inside the UFC specifically. His last loss was in 2015, 11 years ago. It was a TKO loss to Adriano Martins at UFC 192. Which, if you're asking, who is that? I don't know. Quick fun fact, though. I did look him up. Adriano Martins, since that win over Islam Makhachev in 2015, he has gone 1-6-1 in his MMA career. 1 win in 11 years. You cannot make this up. MMA math. Figure it out. Islam Makhachev, 2-division champion now. I guess former lightweight champ, as he had to give up that belt. But he captured the welterweight belt in November by dominating Jack Della Maddalena. A fight that, while I believed Islam Makhachev was the rightful side, I wondered how he looked at welterweight, and he looked great. And the word out of camp is he's only getting stronger and sharper at welterweight. Now he looks to write his name alone at the top of that consecutive records. The challenger, Ian Machado Gary, 28 years old. What a young pup. 2-fight win streak, most recently decision win over former champion Belal Muhammad. He holds only 1 professional loss as well. Shavkat Rakhmonov in 2024 got him. He is legitimately elite, and he carries real confidence into this fight. Can he prove the doubters wrong and become champion? Well, let's look at the physical picture first. It favors Gary, to no surprise. 6'3" to Islam's 5'10", a 4-inch reach advantage at 74 inches. 6 years younger. On paper, Gary is the bigger, longer, younger fighter. Point blank. XR percentages. Makachev, a guy with his fight style, is going to shine in the XR percentage category. 86%. That is wild. Gary's at 69. So 86% across 18 UFC fights is not a number. It's a statement from Islam Makhachev. He dominates rounds. That's what he does. But nothing to shy about Ian Machado Gary's, so many names, at 69%. That's actually very good, very respectable for a guy who is now challenging for the belt. The striking, well, it's going to obviously belong to Ian. He lands 4.78 significant strikes per minute with an excellent 1.92 differential. He only absorbs 2.86 significant strikes per minute. 4 knockdowns scored. It's clean. It's efficient. It's what we like out of a striker. Islam lands 2.45 significant strikes with a 1 differential, absorbing only 1.45 per minute. He is a ghost on the feet. It's not where he spends his time. You simply cannot find him clean when you want to, and he's not trying to outbox you either. He's trying to suffocate you on the mat because that's where Islam Makhachev lives. He has bought a house on the mat, on the ground. That's where he spends most of his time, especially in the summers. 87% control rate in the clinch and ground time for Islam Makhachev. That is strong, to say the least. That is a strong number. 51% of time in a dominant controlling position. We're talking 41 takedowns at 56% accuracy. He is relentless, dog on a bone, like I like to say. But he's very methodical too. He drags you into that deep water and he keeps you there until you just stop moving. I mean, Jack Della Maddalena looked absolutely lost. He looked gone after those 5 rounds. The number that matters most for Gary, it's not his offensive, it's his defensive. 80% takedown defense from Ian Machado Gary. That's not too bad. This is a legitimate wall. If Gary can stay upright and keep this fight standing, he has a path. There is a path there. Every second Islam doesn't get the takedown is a second Gary striking could do damage. But this is absolutely another level of grappling that Ian has never seen. We just know that clearly. So the model, does it think we get 2 new champs in one night? It does not. Islam Makhachev gets the nod here. 63% win probability. It's actually very low. And you see that red on the screen. Tier 5 favorite. That's the wrinkle. That's the wrinkle of this whole situation. For a man who looks close to unbeatable, 65%. Did I say 63% a second ago? 65% win probability is not a dominant score from the model, if I'm being honest. And his odds are sitting at minus 340, if not higher, and may get higher, get closer to Saturday. I know there's going to be parlays living on this fight. That's implying around 77%. The edge just isn't there from the model. The gap between the model and the market, it's significant and not in my favor. I think Islam Makhachev is the rightful side. Of course, that's an easy thing to say. The grappling blueprint is clear, proven, but at minus 340 with a 63% model score and a tier 5 label attached, the money line's going to stay in the pocket. You know, I know the last few weeks, even tier 5s have been coming home. It's all independent of itself. Every spin of the roulette wheel is independent on its own. Even as a parlay piece, I would be cautious with Islam Makhachev, if I'm being honest. Ian Machado Gary is not a name you want to breeze past in a parlay. One good sequence on the feet, and this whole thing could change. And I know Makachev looks absolutely unbeatable, and he simply looks inevitable. But putting together a 16 and then 17 fight win streak in the UFC at this level is difficult for a reason. It is hard for a reason. There's a reason that record has lived for so long. Can he break it? Absolutely. The official prediction is on him breaking that, Islam Makhachev. The official bet at the moment is nothing, at least for now. History is on the line. Let's see if Islam writes it alone. And that is your UFC 330 preview. That's it. Wrap it up. 4 fights for you on the pod today. No pack rip. I don't know if some of you guys were enjoying it. I was enjoying it, so I will do it in the future. Just no pack rip today as we got a full pod out of this. Man, a couple tier 1 live dogs, huh? After none, someone let the dogs out. I had to say that pun. I had to say that. And the model at the moment is pumping the brakes on the main event. This is the kind of card with a bankroll can either take a big step forward or it might take a hit. There's some variance. There's going to be some variance in the night, but we're going to trust the numbers. We got to trust the process. That's all we could do. We're going to let Saturday night do its thing. We are 94, 50, and 6 on the year, 65%. Not too shabby. This weekend could move that number significantly in either direction with 10 fights modeled. And if you want the other fights modeled and the other fights tiers, well, guess what? You got to head over to fightingwithnumbers.com for the full season dashboard, model data on those 10 fights, tail of the tapes. It's great. Give me some feedback if you wish. And as always, find me on X/Twitter and Instagram at @TheRabio. I'll post something on there for you guys. If you're enjoying the show, you know what to do. Subscribe, leave a rating, share the episode. It means everything. And I mean everything. No, seriously. I appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. We're making a run here. Summer's coming to an end, which means the UFC schedule will be coming to an end slowly here at the end of the year. So let's finish strong. I appreciate all of you for continuing to tune in, or new listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Head over to fightingwithnumbers.com for more information. Big night ahead at UFC 330. Enjoy the violence.
Perfect.